Okay, sorry about that there, I had to cut out. So R3 we're on, and this is the network back in, so it's our 192.168.0, and on this occasion it would be 1.2.3.4 and 255.240, and no shut, and that's brought that up. So let's bring up R2 as well, and T, and go straight into kick 00, because that is basically that brings up the core of the network there. So that is all up and running. We're waiting on this switch port going into a forwarding state, which shouldn't be too long. I think they do updates every 30 seconds or to a minute, and then it should be up. So give me a wee second just to confirm the address on this. So let's actually do to show run, because I think when I was configuring this, I think I've messed up. I have, yep, you can see there. So that could have been a wee problem solving ability there, but you'll see the subnet mask on this is actually incorrect. This is on a different network. So what I'll do at this point is we'll just go into gig 00, and we'll just redo that with the correct setting. A quick way of checking, we can actually try and ping another router. So on that we can do 4. This will actually give us an idea that everything is communicating correctly, but which it is. So that's correct. So at this stage we've got this area actually connected, and I can start configuring OSPF on it. So what we'll do is we'll start off with router 0, seeing this is where we are, and config mode, and it's basically just router OSPF, and give it a process ID of 1, and on this will basically just tell it of the network, so we know we're network 192.168.0.0 is the first, and the wildcard mask, the way I sort of learned this is the wildcard mask is 1 less than the block size or the available hosts on the network. So I know there's 8 hosts on that network, and the block, it will be a wildcard mask of 7, so it will be 0.0.0.7, and then area 0. That's the first network in, and the other network on that is network 1.1 or 1.0. So network 192.168.1.0 and 0.0.0.255. Oh, and area 0. So that is the first router configured with OSPF. Now at this stage we don't know which one is going to be configured with the designated router or the backup designated router, so we will check that later. So exit, back to global config, router OSPF 1, network network 192.168.0.0, the wildcard 0.0.0.7, and actually when that gets enabled it should get a link. That'll be its first link. Yep, there you go. And that just messed me up there. That's the other thing I always forget to turn off is logging synchronous. So it would be a lot easier if I put it on, but right, so it's 1.0 0.0.0.255 and area 0. So that is the second network actually on this. So both of these routers should now know about each other, and we can confirm that if we go IP route, directly connected routes, the OSPF routes should populate. In a second. Yeah, there's the first one there. So, oh no, wait, that's its own route. No, it's not actually. One. Yep. This is again one of the lovely configuration issues where if you had it wrote down on a piece of paper you probably remember it a bit more. So however, this is actually my first video which I'm doing not as bad as what I thought at. So we need to put the right network in. So the network actually on this segment is 2.1, not 2.0 network ID. So with that in, router 0 should get its update. When it's ready, apparently, according to it. Where did I even get? Ah, Stuart, you. No. See, network diagrams do definitely help. You can see this is actually the router that's going directly to there, and I have misconfigured this. So give me a wee second and I will fix this right now. Okay, sorry about that there, and we are now back. So far we have configured up the ISP router, the Core 0 router, the R0 and the R1. Now both the R1 and the R0 are actually populated with routes. So if I do a show IP route, I have my route coming from R1, and if I do the exact same, apparently if I move cables, if I do the exact same on R1 IP route, you can see, not at this stage because I just unplugged the cable, and the port is actually in a blocking port. Lovely. Modern day technology. 2 seconds for that. There you go. So that's a backup there. So it should populate within the next couple of seconds. Yep, there you go. OSPF. fill to none. So why does it not list my network? And that one was in there 2 seconds ago, but now it's not. Okay, let's not worry ourselves too much about that, and let's actually continue with the rest. So, I'm actually going to take a wee name box, and I'm going to put some names in this so that I know what networks are what. So this is the 1.0. And this, actually let's do this one, the 2.0, and do this one, the 3.0. So 1.0, 3.0, 2.0, and this one is actually the 10.0.1.0 network. That's going up to the core router. So that's that. That is that network. That is that network. And that is that network. So we've got a 3. So at this stage, I think I'll actually just put the other names on. So let's do a 4.0, and we'll do a 5.0, and we'll do a 6.0. So that will be all the networks that we actually use in the rest of this. And having these here will actually make it a little bit easier to follow along, because I did get a little confused on them there. So far we've got these routers all configured, these two and these two here. So I'm going to jump along and we'll actually do R3 now. So in config t int gig 01. You actually do int correctly. IP address. Hi there. So, sorry I got a little bit disturbed there. I actually try to do this while I'm in work, because this is where my microphone's set up. So far I have got this entire segment all configured. Every router is now passing over the adjacencies and are all configured. So if I show the routes, now if I spell route as well, that's even better. So you can see I've got a directly connected route to the 10.0.0.0 and the 10.0.1.0, and I also have it to the 0 network, which is the one that all the routers are connected to, and I have got OSPF data from the 1.0, the 2.0 and the 3.0, which are all coming from OSPF, as you can see indicated by the 0 or the O. And every router has got all this. It's funny I missed the O, the U the last time, and then the O. So there you go, you can see the 1, the 2, the 0, the 10 and the 3. So every router now has them all on it. So that is pretty much this top part of the network done. Now the only other thing that I need to do is I need to actually set up my core router with a default route to go out. So if I go into my core and T, and I just want to set up a default route, a default static route to go out to my internet, which is not that. I'm actually sure it is 10.0.0.1. Like so. And that's that, but I will do the exact same in my core router so it knows when I send traffic. 1.1, if I remember right. It is, because it would have given me an error if it wasn't. And let's just confirm that we do have access to. Yep, we do. So all traffic that R1 receives will send out its default route, which goes over to the core router and then will pass out to the ISP router. Now I think this is how it's done in best practices for organisations. I think this is sort of how they do, although they may be using different routers for load balancing and redundancy. I'll get to that as my studies progress, I would imagine. So as far as I'm aware so far, this is it. So all that's done, and I would also like to send out that default information to all other routers, so that I don't need to key it in, so we can actually do that direct from this router using a command, OSPF1. I can't remember exactly what it is, but if we press question mark, we can get default information. So there you go. And originate, distribute a default route. That's pretty much what we are after. So what will happen is R1 will actually send out all the information through OSPF to all adjacent routers, and then they'll know how to configure and go to the internet rather than me having to manually configure that them all. So that's pretty much what we wanted, and we can confirm that in a little bit once it propagates throughout the network. So next task is jumping down to R4. Let's click on it. And first things first, let's configure its hostname of R4, and let's get it going onto the switch. So it's gig 00. And I know this is on the 3.0 network, so my main router is 3.1, so let's make this one 192.168.3.2, and we'll give it its classful subnet, and no shut, and that'll bring that interface up, and then we need to go to the other side of it. Gig 01, and the IP is 192.168. And again, no shut. And that is that configured. So at that stage, that router is fully configured. And I'm going to actually do, I was going to do different networks on this side. Let's actually do that. Let's do a 172.16.0.1 on this side. Let's do a 172.16.1.1 on this side, just to sort of mix it up a little bit. So R5, again, nope, and we're back into the router. Sugar. Yeah, let's jump to the other one because that's probably going to take a wee bit of time to actually ping out. Config and gig 00, and it's 4.1, so top one R5 will be 4.2, 4.3 for this one, so 192.168.4.3, 255.255.255.0. And when you put the fill command in, it's even easier because you don't get that. No shut. So that's up, and let's do the other side of it as well. So gig 01, IP address is 172.16.1.1, and we'll give it non-classful. And that brings that interface up. So let's actually see if this one's, yep, it's timed out. So config t and gig 00 and IP address 192.168.4.2 and shut. Brings that up, and gig 01 IP address 172.168.0.1. And that has brought that up as well. So basically we just need to configure OSPF on these 3 routers and get the traffic passing. So on this one, since we're already logged in, let's go directly to it. So let's do router, OSPF, process ID of 1, network. On this one is 172.16.0.0 and a 0.0.0. 0.0.0.255 and area 0, and also give it the next network of 192.168.4.0 area 0. This is where I hope that all these little things that you keep forgetting to do will become like a reflex. And you just know. Okay, so they two are configured and they'll probably be communicating with themselves right now, so let's help them out with this main router. So we want exit and we want to get into router OSPF 1 network 192.168.4.0 0, and also the 3.0 if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 3.0. And that is pretty much OSPF on everything. So what I'm actually going to do right now is I'm going to save everything. Because I don't know when the last time I done it all was. Should get better at this, but so that's all the router configs actually saved, and everything is it should be up and running. I'll just shut down the router windows just now. And what I'm actually going to do is press this little button here, which is basically just a power cycle, and it is actually going to reset all the devices. Now all the configs are saved, so whenever the routers are actually booting, they'll boot up from the flash, and then they'll load their storage or their configs from NV flash or NV RAM, and that'll actually configure them as they're booting. So 2 seconds just to the actual boot up.